Okay, we're live. I'm
Well,
excited
live.
to be here. We're live. We're live. Yes. And today is a very powerful day. It's Nigeria Independence Day and also the
Day, yes.
birthday of UK.
Very important day.
Very important day. What does it mean to you, Asaf, before we start?
It's just a reminder, right? That you are a Nigerian, and
Right.
then you have a responsibility to play. And in all fields that you are, like, how are you adding to the greatness of the country? How are you contributing to its image and representation in all spaces you find yourself? And as a filmmaker, I'm just excited that at least currently I'm in the UK and I'm here representing Nigerian cinema. And I can't wait to share an amazing Nigerian film to the world here in the UK. So that means a lot to me.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I have the privilege of being one of the associate producers on the project.
On
So
the project.
I am so grateful for that. And also,
Okay.
for those that don't know me, I wear many hats, but today I am wearing my associate producer, Three Cold Dishes hat firmly on my head. And I'm just excited to share Asaf's story with you, who is the director
Yeah.
of this amazing film, who has gone on what would be a film in itself in terms of the
Yeah.
journey you have gone on to make this film. So I really just want to start by just understanding what the spark of this film is. So Three Cold Dishes, it follows three women who were trafficked and reunited years later to take down the people that exploited them. What was the
Yeah.
first image or headline or lived experience that said, I want to make this film today? I want to make this film now.
I'll say it's my finding from my research, right? During the research stage, I was very particular to check out some other titles that have explored the same theme and what they have done differently, and how can I add to this existing pool of works. And then what I discover is that most of the titles, like actually all of the titles, shine light on the realities of survivors from Africa to Europe and Africa to Middle East, and none spotlight on the story of survivors from Africa to Africa or within Africa. And from my research, 97% of the victims never set their foot out of Africa. That's huge. Their story has never been told, and that was the strongest reason why we decided to make three cold dishes and just shut it across multiple African countries and keep it within, like, shine the lights and represent the majority of that survivors pool.
Yeah, I mean, you did so well to tackle such a impactful theme, but also make a movie from it. And so I'm just interested in terms of just that dynamic of being able to tackle human trafficking and sex trafficking with accuracy and dignity. And did you have consultations with survivors? And how did you balance between the ethical representation and making a thriller of a film as well?
Yes, we did during the research. We actually did about 2 years research on three cold dishes, and that was a very big eye opener. And some of the things that we explored during the research phase was speaking with real survivors, and then understanding, like, this is so. During the research, I realized how layered this this network is. We spoke to survivors with even different stories, different patterns, different pathways. Some, it was just a case of them traveling to another country, like genuinely traveling for a job in another country, and then just in the course of traveling, things changed for them, and they find themselves in war. Some, they were just going to visit a friend, and then they end up on a trip. So during the research phase, we got exposed to, like, different patterns, different layers of how this case of trafficking does happen across our borders, and that becomes like the foundation to the backstory and to nuances to why some of the characters' story flow in their own individual journey. It wasn't coincident that we have three characters as opposed to just drive it through one high, right? There's one person who's in love, and that's the story. There's someone who was almost like an outcast in another community, and she found refuge in the connection house, which is very, very strange, but it does happen. We discovered that in the story, and my biggest shocker is how, like, the perpetrator, it's not a male only space. Like, you actually have, we found out powerful women who are also involved. In fact, we couldn't explore this in the story that we were telling because it didn't drive the narrative we were trying to tell. We discovered that there's some survivors that were rescued from the connection house that also became like recruiter of girls into connection houses. And then in their defense, they were like, I'm not going to be the only person to write this part. So it's such a very complicated experience, but it helped us in the way we told three Kodisha stories. So yeah.
It's very complex, and it shows you the need for even when survivors come out of it, the therapeutic interventions and the support that's needed around survivors. Do you think there's enough awareness around the support that's needed for survivors?
No, there is none, and nobody is shared of this responsibility. So we interviewed about 10 real life survivors. So we call them survivors, but because they're no more in the connection house. But they are still going through traumas. Like, there's some of them that are in marriages that they're still dealing with. Like, it almost look like their partners always bring back their story to haunt them every time they have misunderstandings. There's some that are struggling to get real empowerment because most of the rescue mission is not done by agency. The rescue missions are done by family and friends and few agencies that just help them to leave the connection house and back to their home country. So what happened to them now that they are in their home country? Especially, like, how do they navigate this new reality? Like, I've heard stories of survivors that came back that were actually rescued, and then after 6 months they went back,
right?
Because life wasn't conducive for them here. Like, there was no smooth integration, there was no like mental resources and financial resources to reintegrate them and like empower them, so they have something doing here. And then that's end up making them to question, is my life better back home or even much better in the connection house? So you have a case of where some girls actually, they travel back. And so yeah, that's, I would say, that's why I said it's not like there's nobody to really blame to it. I just wish that there's right agency that takes up the responsibility of integration. So, okay, yeah, we've rescued the girls. What becomes their life for the next 4 years? Are they going through training, like not just random training, like training that is in line with their interest, like something that they would love to do, that becomes like a job, and then they can independently sustain their own life and living for the next 3 years, so that this transition is smooth and they don't have to question if this was a better option or staying back would have been like a better option for them.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the same scenario you hear with prison, in terms of there's no resources for people, so they end up sometimes committing crimes to get back into prison.
Yes. Yes. And so, it could also be because there's no much awareness. I think people get more interested when it affects them. Right. And it is not a problem that have a selected victims. Like, it can be anybody. Like, anybody can be a victim. So the more we share or we shine awareness on this pandemic, I think the better it's hopefully it's drive the interests of people that can create some sort of easy reintegration and long-term reintegration of survivors.
I mean, that was what was, like you said, was so interesting about the women's stories. Like, they could be anybody. It
Yes.
could be, you could trust a friend and then, be bamboozled into a situation that is as devastating as you describe. I want to also talk about your viewpoint as a filmmaker from a Pan-African point of view. So looking across the continent with your cast, multiple languages in terms of in French and English. What made you decide to do a Pan-African film and cast it and finance it? And how did that influence how you shot the film?
So it's in two choices. One is creative, and the second is reach of the film. So the creative part is influenced by my own personal experience, like the birth of the story. Three Cold Dishes was inspired by my own personal trip across the border from Lagos to Waga, and some of the realities that I'm an English speaking person, like, and then I have to be on a trip in the same bus with almost like 60 people, and it's just two of us on the bus that are English speaking passenger, and those realities, right, influenced my choices, because I started seeing the easy travel of young girls without IDs from Lagos, Benin. And then it was also prominent in Benin, Togo. And then the last experience that called my attention into, okay, it looks like this is a normal thing, was the border before. I can't remember the name of the border, but it's one before Waga, where I met three young girls arguing and speaking in French and all of that. So I felt like this is a shared stories and it's a shared realities. Just this year, we've had like 2 to 3 scenarios of rescue of young girls from Ivory Coast, which was it was in the media. It was very big in the media earlier this year in Nigeria. And subsequently, a month after, there was another one in Ghana. So it's not only Anglophone side, it's also connection. And the girls in Ivory Coast, which is a French-speaking country, were Nigerians that were rescued. So how are they even surviving? Like, and these girls were trafficked at like mid-age. Like, how are they surviving, trying to learn new language? Or is this part of the trick to put these girls in countries where they will struggle to integrate and probably struggle to even communicate, and that makes it easy to become prey to this to trafficking. So that all of this became like the inspiration on the creative side of, okay, it is a common stories, which means regardless of the point of eye that we're telling the story, it is relatable in Nigeria, it's relatable in Ivory Coast, it's relatable in Senegal, it's relatable in Ghana, it's relatable in Benin. And then what does that mean for the reach of the film? It means that this film can be exported beyond Nigerian border. And then how best can we export it without selling it as a second leg distribution in this region is also by mirroring and finding representative from these countries or from this region. And doing that is also casting actors from Senegal, actors from Ivory Coast, actors from Benin, actors from Nigeria, like have a representation from each of these countries. And especially for some of the countries that we were also shooting, not just only in Nigeria, but also shooting in those countries as well, putting ourselves through the paths that this girls travels in the real sense, and that's in a way, by the time we have now a soul film, you can call it a Nigerian film only because it wasn't shot only in Nigeria, and you have production companies in Nigeria and also in other countries across the region. So it's now a Pan-African film, and not just a Pan-African film because we brought actors to Nigeria and shot everything in Nigeria, but it's actually a Pan-African film in all sense of it, from the talent to the language to the world of Three Cold Dishes itself, which forms the countries where we shot Three Cold Dishes.
Mm.
So it's both creative and also an economics of it in terms of the reach of the film.
Yeah. Your journey is becoming legendary. You're from self-taught to now, being potentially the future of African filmmaking, Pan-African filmmaking. I'd love to hear, how you started learning to make films and then going on to have award-winning features like Hakunde, and the film Casanova. So tell me about how you started out, and what have you had to unlearn?
Okay, I think from the start is my journey started off curiosity. Like I was just curious. Growing up, we have limited access to TV. I can only watch TV when my dad is around. Like, and then you can't turn on the TV unless he's turning on the TV, and you only watch news from like 4 p.m. to like 6 or 7 p.m. So it felt like it was a limited. I was a rebellious kid growing up. So the fact that I do not have the right to turn on the TV at any given time makes me to want to question why. I kind of feel like there's something inside this TV, and then once you turn on the device, there are images. You see people, like, are they living in that box? Like how? Like, so just the whole idea of understanding how images pops on screen, like this thing that we always cover it has like a curtain on it. We always cover the TV during the time that is not on, and then once my dad is about to turn it on, he opens the curtain and then it turns it on, and then we have the rules of not turning on the TV when he's not around. And he's so particular about that because once he's back from office, the first thing he would do is to go to the TV and put his hand on the TV to see if it's warm. Because if it's warm, it means someone already turned on, and that the most potential person, culprit will be me. So the fact that I was restricted watching TV bettered my interest and curiosity to understand how does the TV work. And then one day I was mixing, so we have a VHS, and I was trying to see on the VHS there's play, there is a rewind, and there's record. So record means I can record something, but how? And then I checked the connection behind. I saw in and out. Okay, behind the TV, there's in and out. And there's cable behind. So there's out from the VHS to the TV in. So when we play VHS cassette, we'll see the images on the TV. I figured that out. So I'm like, so there's out also on the TV and there is in on the VHS. What if I swap the cabling? Could that give me an access to get an image created by myself? And then I tried it one day, and I was able to record an image from the TV on the VHS. I damaged my dad's VHS. I got punished for it, but I learned that I could record stuff on the TV. And that was like the whole inspiration behind my curiosity. And then my curiosity led me into now, when I have access to Google and understand that you can pretty much learn anything on Google, I was like, okay, if there's anything I want to learn more is how this function, how video works. And I started learning online using Google and some tutorials on YouTube. Got my first camera out of luck, and that was it. And I didn't learn how to shoot or how to edit videos because I see career in it. No, it was like me playing, like the way people who play PS enjoy playing games on PS. So it was like my own way of having fun when I'm not doing any other thing, until it became an option to take a job for it one day. I work with a TV station, a TV programming studio. I worked for them for some time, and in the course of that, started my own company. And then I have the opportunity of working with Google. And then I'm like, and our relationship was very good for like a few months, and they were so curious to understand where I learned, because my approach to content creation was quite different, and they were so curious to learn which film school did you study from? And I said, University of YouTube and Google, and they were like, no, we know everybody also learn on YouTube, but we want to be sure, like just in case we want to do case study and want to refer new content creators. I'm like, actually learn on YouTube and Google. They couldn't believe it. And they were like, "Yo, this is insane! They're gonna create like a campaign around my story," which they did in 2013 called African Connected, Google African Connected, and it was huge. That put me on almost all international media, and yeah, I did TV for like 2 years, switched to events, and then from events, I was tired of doing the same thing over and over. Wanted to try my hands on film, and then Akunde became. I did a short film; it was good, and then Akunde became a teen, and here we are.
Wow. I mean, I've said wow about 5 times. That is an incredible story. And I'll ask you a bit later about what you think about AI filmmaking. But we had an amazing AI filmmaker on one of we do these AI talks,
Okay.
Afro Future. And she talked about the fact that she was just playing around, curiosity. And she then ended up making this award-winning AI film that won a competition, and now she's asked to speak all around the world. So this idea of it starting from curiosity is such a powerful, motivating, and inspirational, point to make to people out there in terms of, don't wait to be discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no border now.
Right, there's no border. So that kind of fast tracks us to where you are now. And you have Burna Boy, who is a global, international, Time 100 most influential, Grammy award-winning artist, who is the executive producer for this film as part of Spaceship Films. How did that happen? And what did he see in this film that he knew this was something he wanted to be attached to? And why did you say yes?
So myself and Bona have an existing working relationship. I started my career beyond the TV. I morphed into what I call like content collectors, right? What is now today called content creators. So we document the growth and journey of like comedians and Afrobeat artists back then. So that gave me an access to work with a lot of music stars and a lot of comedians. And I ended my career in that with Bona because I had a very great memories, great amazing moments together across like 1 year of our collaboration, working with them as a content collector. I did this first US tour called Lotto Tour in 2018. And on that tour I met Damini Ogulu, not Burna Boy. And the guy that I met was not anything linked to the Burna Boy that people talked about in the media. I met the real human, and it's such an amazing person. Like it was such a beautiful journey together working with them that I felt that if I'm to tell story around my journey as a content collector, I would love to end that story at this peak. Like this would be like my exit, because I have a beautiful story to tell of our journey together. And it was coincidentally, I was exiting that into three cold dishes, to the development of three cold dishes. In fact, the mom wanted me to continue to since my job is flexible, like I could always just come in during the time that I'm available for job. I said, unfortunately, it looks like the story that I'm currently working on is more demanding. It's going to take me almost a year in research. I didn't even know we're going to be on 4 years journey. So I'm so excited about it that I just want to just focus on it. So I left working with Spaceship to starting three cold dishes. And when we hit the walls on the course of making three cold dishes, and things became harder because taking this story across multiple borders was exposed us to a lot of hazards. Like we had an insane accident, which I haven't shared publicly before, on the course of telling three cold dishes, and that nearly ended the project. It was like after like 3 weeks in production, so requires us to decide if we want to continue with the film or we have to go through refinancing. And that in that moment, I needed I needed a partner that can make decision faster, and beyond financials, also their vision about our story and our reality is on the same space. Like, they would love to be part of Three Cold Dishes, not because of the opportunity to invest, no, but because of the fact that we're telling an important story. And there was nobody that comes to my mind in that moment than Auntie Bose. So that's Mrs. Bose Ogulu, Burna Boy's mom. I shared some accident picture. I sent pictures to her and I told her, Auntie me, I'm going through a lot. And this is my reality. Remember the story that I left for, that I've been working on for the past years. We're now shooting it, and then we just survived an accident. And I think it's something that you really like to. I shared the deck immediately, sent some pictures and the images. I did like a 2-minute cut from what we've shot, and I shared with her, and she replied immediately, said, "You're so audacious. Your mind is wild. You are telling an important story, and it will be an exciting thing for us to be part of this. Let me know whatever you need." And we're on now. I think they were traveling to US. They were just on the tarmac to fly. Said, whatever you need to do to continue with what you're shooting at the stage that you're shooting, just keep doing it. When we cycle back in Nigeria, let's pick up this conversation. But 100%, we're going to do it. And then she said yes to it. And then the rest of the conversation was easy. And I think the interest was strongly because of the story that we were telling. Two, we already have an exciting relationship before Three Cold Dishes. And three, they've been on the corridor of Three Cold Dishes from the beginning of it. My exit from them was my excuse for leaving my job with Spaceship was Three Cold Dishes development. And it just makes sense that, if you've been on this, so you must believe so much in this project, on this story that you're telling, to still be on it 4 years in it. And then whatever we can do to make sure we make it bigger and support this project, we will do it. And then they came in heavy and make Three Cold Dishes bigger than what it was before joining Three Cold Dishes.
Again, I'm getting goosebumps listening to you tell that story. There's so many. I mean, this is a masterclass for filmmakers, and not just in terms of the process, but in just terms of your energy and the type of person you are. And it's clear that you attract good things because of your energy and the type of person that you are. So that has been my experience, just observing your journey over the last couple of years as well. And I think, like you said, it's important that we mention Mrs. Ogulu, Mama Berna, who is instrumental in the success of who we know now today as Burna Boy. And so her support on this film, I know you said it many times, has been fundamental, essential in so many ways. So we're excited that she will be on the panel in the UK. So let's talk a bit about that. Okay, so this is really exciting. If you are in the UK, you are doing the global premiere of Cold Dishes this Friday at Indigo O2. It's a red carpet affair. Like, tell me a bit about why not Lagos, why London, and why October?
Thank you for this question. So for Three Cold Dishes, I always maintain my biggest interest is that this film travels borders, and it's seen across the world, and there is and it's not limited to Africa. Right. And London or the UK plays an important space with Nigeria in terms of history. And for a film that is coming out in November, we thought October is an important month. One, it's in commemoration with Nigerian independence. Two, if we're going to do a global premiere, like a world premiere of Three Cold Dishes, where is that space where we can gather a lot of African creatives and loop it with Nigerian independence? And we couldn't find another place than London. And also because it was also like a second home for Bonner, as well. And it wasn't just a choice to do it in London and do it on October 3rd, which is like the weekend of Nigerian independence. And also it's like the month of the Black History Month as well. So London was like our next door spot to shine light to the story that we were telling, so the world gets to know about it, and they don't see it just as an African story. Yeah, it's an African story, but it's designed to be exported across the globe. And then London was just like the perfect choice for us. And I'm looking forward to what what we're doing on Friday. Is about 1,700 capacity theater. The guest list is looking so fire. And we also believe that with the media, it's a very good idea to kind of spotlight on the project from here, shoot it to the world. The world is talking about it, and then the official premiere of it happened in Lagos. So like taking it home. So it kind of also create some sense of FOMO that it's our story, but it's currently being celebrated also across the globe, and we can't just wait to bring it home. So if we're going to do world premiere, most titles will probably want to do it at the festival. But I didn't want to limit this. In the way we told the story of Three Cold Dishes, it was a bit more mainstream, right? And if we're not going to festival, we're not waiting through the festival calendars, then we have to design our own world premiere, and then this event is it, and it's serving that purpose.
So this is I know Burna Boy is on a world tour called No Signs of Witness. So it's very, very well aligned with Three Cold Dishes.
With Three Cold Dishes, yeah. Like, as a revenge film, there's no revenge with weakness.
At O2, we're gonna make it happen. 1,700 seats.
Yes.
No problem. We're gonna take it to America. You know, this is amazing. And so, just talk to me about, like, you told me that the film almost got shut down. The hardest and the greatest during the film. So, what was the hardest day of production or post-production, and what has that taught you about leadership?
I think there's so many moments on the course of Three Cold Dishes. You have to wait till when you see the documentary. But I think there are two key moments during the shoot of Three Cold Dishes that shaped my leadership approach. And first, I have to just say a big thank you to the cast and the crew of Three Cold Dishes. I'm just lucky to be the director, producer, and then the guy that discovered the story. But this film is more of the crew story as much as it's my project. It's more of the cast project as much as my. I've seen a crew member that was employed, and then in the course of telling Three Cold Dishes, moved to become an executive producer. Same for crew. Like the DP is now an executive producer on Three Cold Dishes. Same for, like, one of the cast is also currently an executive producer on Three Cold Dishes. These decisions were not made before the principal photography was in the course of the project. And then, like, you could see, it just feels like it is our film. It's not a soft film. So, like, two moments that really shaped that. I think the first were they were so close. The first was the accident. So we had a very we had an accident on Three Cold Dishes, and we lost everything. We lost an entire equipment truck. I mean, 16-wheeler right off in the middle of nowhere in the Republic of Benin. Yeah, light, grip, generator right off. 3 weeks into production, the only thing we didn't lose was life. And I was looking at our truck, it was upside down. And everything shattered flat in the bush. And I was the leader. And then throughout my journey, I know that. And we had about like 120 to about like 130 people on this trip. And everybody is looking up to you. to read your reaction for them to decide. I grew up in a town called Ikpaja, like real streets of Lagos. I wasn't raised soft. I was raised on the street, and I built a very tough skin to deal with all sort of challenges. Like nothing, nothing has really crushed me like that moment, right? Like nothing prepared me for that moment. Because I was looking at, like, it's possible that there's someone under that truck and it's gone. What becomes of my life? What would people say? Like, is this the end of it for me? Like so many things. And I thought, you know what? We are here. We've come to this spot, and whatever it is, we're going to ride it. And I rushed into the space, started like pulling people out, and then the other crew member also joined in. And the moment we discovered that, okay, the 3 people survived, but with huge injury, and we rushed them to the hospital, we started doing. So my experience as a content collector on concerts has really helped me in that moment, because I've been in concerts where, like, I was in London, like covering an event at O2. Was it O2? Yeah, and then they end up chaotic, like people actually died. The concert. So I've seen crisis management on big shows from past experience. So all of those really played in the decisions that I made in the first 10 minutes. Like, get people to the nearest safe spots, reduce risk by making sure that we're not on the express, expose ourselves to more accident, and then figuring out what to do next. So safety first in the moment, and then we survived that moment. I think there was a time I was leaving and everything was cleared already, so we've already moved people to the nearest hospital, and I was just leaving the crash site, and I saw Fatouma. She was walking towards the site and she was crying. And then she opened her arms like this, and I tried to hug her, and then I started crying like 2 seconds. I'm like, no, that's not you. Man's don't cry. No. And then I stopped. And then that moment, and at some point I sat down beside the bush, and I was just like, I was thinking in that moment, like, bro, you are human at the end of the day. It was so natural. And then when we got back, it took us a lot to kind of move, because we have to go through the police clearing of the mess, and then getting another huge truck to and crane to lift the crash, and then lift all of this. Like, we can't leave the debris there. We have to move everything all the way from the northern Benin back to Cotonou, which is almost like 13 hours journey, because I couldn't continue. I told my guys that even though, people didn't die, we have 3 people still in a critical condition in the hospital. I'm not mentally capable of going on that journey to go shoot anything, knowing fully well that some of my crew members on the sick bed struggling and fighting for their life. So we're going to end this shoot right now, get everybody back to report and to Cotonou, and then we keep up eyes on the victims that are in the hospital till they're well, and we can transport them back to Cotonou or send them back to Nigeria for further treatment. I don't think I want to think about anything shoot. And so we mobilize everything, and then we return to Cotonou the next morning. So I went straight to my hotel, which was the second part of it. And then I slept and I woke up to decide, what do we do next? Is it over? And I saw videos on my phone from my crew member. So we made sure, one of the things I told everybody on the set is, please do me a favor. Don't share anything on the set. Don't call anybody. Don't tell anybody. I do not want any negative news popping out of this project in the media. Let's keep this within us, right? Unfortunately, I think one person called their family member, and then it's a very small community, and things started spreading. So my guys, that's the crew, they took themselves with their own money, like their own resources, to the club to go have fun. and then create a lot of videos and posted it on social media. And I do not understand the concept. And then the coordinator, the production coordinator sent me a message, said, we have to do this because someone called home and there's some people already calling him to ask what's going on. We had an accident happen. And so if people see all of us in the club having fun, there's no way anybody want to assume something of that magnitude happen on the set. I'm like, how do I look at these people who have taken it upon themselves to protect this project? Even in the middle of trauma, still try to live it through. How do I look at them and say, it's over? There's no way. There's no way. And I said, you know what, Asurf, whatever you have to do to continue this story, you got to do it. So step in your producers, you go and deal with it, rent new equipment, do all the clearing again, and just do it. But we will not stop on this story. Three Dishes doesn't end here. In fact, it begins here. And then that was the first moment, right? And then the second great moment was the second day. So we were, okay, now that we have to continue, we have to also de-risk. We splitted the crew and we're sending about like 50 crew members back to Nigeria. We made an arrangement for logistics for them so that we reduce our risk, because now we're about to travel even like 4 more borders. So the lesser people that I have to look after, the better. So we can also hire new assistants in some of these other countries. And then we read this riot out in the group, and then everybody left their hotel, packed their bags, they dropped their bags in front of the front door of the hotel and disappeared. Nobody want to go home. Like, we were literally begging some of the crew members to please, like, you've already made your part. Like, your name is on the project, your credit is on the project, nothing is changing that. This is just a strong logistic decision that we have to make to continue further. And it was just only one person out of 50 people that entered the bus. In fact, the driver called me at the border, Lagos to Benin, Cotonou, Lagos border, that, sir, there's only one girl in the 2 coastal buses, and she's just been crying since. I'm like, where are the rest? They said they didn't enter the bus. Like, people just disappeared. They didn't want to go home. I'm like, okay, turn back. Bring the lady, bring her back. And then I went back to the hotel, talked to everybody, why we have to make this decision, blah, 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 blah. And then people were like, okay, what if we take it upon ourselves and use our money to transport ourselves to Ivory Coast? Can we still join the team? I'm like, if I'm going to a war and I need soldiers, these are the kind of people I want to ride it with. I look at my production coordinator. He was giving me a high, like, don't. He knows what I was about to say. Don't, Asurf, please, don't. It's going to be tough. Let's not do this. I said, I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we all go to Ivory Coast. Whatever, but I have to make sure that everybody understands what we're about to enter. Whatever you think that we have experienced as at this moment, it's a fraction of what we could deal with in Ivory Coast. So if I'm going to want to do this again or find new talents to support in Ivory Coast, I would love to use people that have this kind of mindset. And then if I have it right now, why do I have to throw it away? Whatever we have to find to make sure that we all, the same people that started this project, finishes the project, I would make it happen. And look at that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, because it makes it very difficult for the logistic team and the production coordinators. But I was happy that I made that decision, and the decision was backed in the fact that we have crew members who took this project on their head to want to see it through. And then in some of the moments that was challenging on the set, we didn't even see it. We were laughing it through and we were enjoying it. There are days we weren't even shooting in Ivory Coast. We'll go on the field and go and play football and have fun and come back. Okay, it's what it is. When we're ready, are we all mentally ready? We go back and continue the shoot. And those are like 2 moments that really shaped my leadership on Three Dishes. And when I was during their interviews and they kind of start talking about why they didn't quit, even when it became harder. It was also how how I was able to handle some of this movement. I'm just happy that at least I followed basic instinct and make the right decisions in those two moments.
Powerful. I'm like, I have a couple questions left, but I almost want to drop the mic right there. So that is phenomenal. We talk a lot. We're on LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn Live, where lots of people are leaders, CEOs, and we talk a lot about emotional intelligence and the importance of being able to have these abilities, which they're not soft skills, they're critical. As you just described, they're life-saving skills, and the ability to have them as a leader and take teams in the ups and downs of emotions. You just wrote the book. You just wrote the book. And I think people don't really understand when they see these things on the screen, what's happening behind the scenes, what it takes, and why we need to give, creators their flowers in terms of what they go through to be able to tell these stories, particularly ones with such an important message that you have. So in terms of the message of this film, so it's an amazing film. I've seen it in terms of thriller, survival, sisterhood. But what conversations do you want people to have when they walk away from this film? What do you want to change in communities, in rooms where policies are being discussed around this? And then in the film industry itself, what do you want people to walk away with?
Trafficking is a global pandemic, right? So you can't write it off. You can't shut it down with just one film. If the only thing three cold dishes can do is to spark conversation and those conversation creates the need for policy change, especially around girls' protection, survivors' empowerment, like real survivors' empowerment and integrations, I think I will be happy. And this can only happen if we amplify some of this conversation beyond the entertainment value that three cold dishes brings on the table. If government across West Africa start creating some policy that protects young girls across the borders and tightens the borders, creates like reintegration fund pool, whereby survivors that were rescued have no reason to go back to Connection House. If that's the only thing this film can achieve, I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
So as we close out our conversation today, it's Nigeria's Independence Day today, as we said. It's the start of Black History Month in the UK. You've already made history in many ways, but as you grow in this industry, what are you looking to do next as a filmmaker? And what's next for Three Cold Dishes as well?
As a filmmaker, I want to collaborate more. I kind of feel like there is power in our number as an African filmmaker. I'm from Nollywood, and some of the aspiration of most Nollywood filmmakers, like my colleague, is always to take over. So you've conquered Nigeria, you've done it all in Nigeria. You want to go to the West. So some want to go to US, some want to go to Europe, some want to go to Africa, to UK, and do some collaborations there and probably find their foot there. And my ideology is, in all of this, there's a representation of us. Like in Hollywood, there are Black filmmakers with their own realities. It's going to be very hard for me as an African filmmaker to think that if I go to US, I can easily find opportunities and take over, right? Because there are Black struggling filmmakers in Hollywood, and same for Europe, and same for UK. But in Africa, we have similar numbers across the entire continent. So if we can win and conquer Nollywood, which is Nigerian film industry, how about we do more collaboration and create films that I can heavily distribute in the northern side of Africa, in the southern side of Africa, Eastern Africa, and West Africa? Because whatever it is that I'm thinking that my film can do, if I make a collaboration with Nigerian US, if we build that ecosystem in a way that we stop seeing Nollywood and stop seeing South African film and start seeing African film, and start creating for Africa and consume heavily across Africa, we would have made whatever it is and break even, make huge money in Africa before exporting our stories to the world. And Three Cold Dishes was like a blueprint of that. And I can see that it can work. And so I want to do more. I want to encourage other African storytellers, African filmmakers to do. We have shared stories. Like, let's conquer Africa first. Let's win at home. As individual, you can only be the biggest box office film, Nigerian film. How about the biggest box office African film? Not by the number on the amount of money that the film made in South Africa or the amount of money that the film made in Nigeria, but the amount that the film made across Africa, which I know for sure is in millions of dollars. Right? How about we start there and win there? So when we're exporting an African cinema that we have huge control over, made by ourselves, for ourselves, and the rest of the world. That is the future that I hope for myself, and my own aspiration. The second question, I can't remember it now. Three Cold Dishes. So Three Cold Dishes in itself is a pilot of a series called The Absence of Death. So whatever you have seen on Three Cold Dishes, it's a baby fraction of what is coming in the sequel of Three Cold Dishes. And I really can't wait for the world to experience this character, their story, and their journey.
Okay, it's been such a delight to have this conversation with you today, and I know there is a Q&A and a panel that is happening at the O2
at the
Global World Premiere at the O2 on Friday. So once you've seen the films, if you have your ticket, you get an opportunity to ask more questions and hear more about the story behind the film, not just from Asurf, but from the cast and the crew, includes the executive producer, or one of the executive producers, Burna Boy.
Yeah.
So, yes, so I want you to have the final word. So what's the final word you want to leave people with as we end today's stream?
My final word will be that you go to cinema. I pray that everybody see Three Cold Dishes beyond the entertainment value that it brings, and see it for the reason why it was made. And you support it with all your platforms within your communities, and share the gospel of Three Cold Dishes. Let's make history, because it is possible. It's a Pan-African film. It's out across Africa from November 7, from West Africa to East Africa to Northern Africa to Southern Africa. And it's currently also coming out in the UK, November 28th. We're currently working on distribution also in North America and also Europe. That when it's out, please share. If you see anything from Three Cold Dishes, please share with your people. If you have a cinema, if you're showing in a cinema near you, please go to cinema and watch it. Be part of this. For every time that you see Three Cold Dishes or share about it, you're also amplifying the voice. You're also amplifying the message that we're preaching. It's like your own contribution to this quota of shining light on the reality of survivors of trafficking across the world, and not just only in Africa. So that would be like my last word to everybody following through. Support this movement and spread the word and the gospel of Three Cold Dishes. Let's make magic together. Let's take Three Cold Dishes to the world.